Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Danielle and this is Amber, and today we're going to talk about how to read more books. So it's that time of year when everyone has just set their reading goals for the year. I know we did. We actually just posted our video, so if you want to know our goals for 2021, we'll leave a link below. But in that video, we actually mentioned that one of our main goals is to read more books. I mean, a lot of people have this goal. You guys probably set that goal for yourself, like a specific number that you want to hit, maybe like 50, 100, even like 300, 400. So today, we just wanted to share with you guys our personal tips on how we read more books, or how we just read a lot of books in general. You read like 90 books in like 4 months this year, right?
Yeah, I read so far, like I started in September and I got to like 95 books by the end of the year. So
I actually didn't start reading until like mid-October. So I'll just say about 3 months, I read 45 books, which is still a lot of books, especially compared to how we were before. We went from virtually reading no books to reading like a few books a week. So we hope this video was helpful for you guys. We're just gonna jump right into it. So what will be your biggest tip? Like, you read so many books. What's your biggest tip?
100% audiobooks. A lot of people have this idea that reading audiobooks isn't like really reading books, and I think that's totally false. I think what you have to do is just make sure you're plugged in and present when you're listening to the audiobook. First of all, there are people who are vision impaired, and this is the only way they can read books. So don't fall for that this isn't really reading books. Also, the reason why reading audiobooks is so, like, it'll help you read faster is because you can put things on double speed. So say an audiobook is like 12 hours. If you put it on double speed, then you can get it through in 6 hours. And if you have like a 9-to-5 job where you can listen to books, or if you just have a day at home, you can get through an audiobook in one day. Not saying that you have to read a book a day, that's not what I'm saying, but you can see the math and how this helps you read faster. And I also feel like, let's say there is an audiobook, like for me, I like to listen to nonfiction on audio because I tend to get bored with reading nonfiction, like an ebook or a physical book. So if you listen to it, then you're more likely to pay attention. And I also feel like if you kind of don't understand something, you can easily rewind it. If you get bored reading certain books, listen to them, and then you won't get yourself into a reading slump, which I think can happen, and that will obviously hinder your goal.
And another good thing about audiobooks is that you can obviously multitask much easier while reading a book. For me, the reason why I got to read so many books this year is because I work from home, so my schedule is pretty flexible anyway, but I used to just blast my music when I'm just doing my like everyday chores, but now I listen to audiobooks. So while I'm cleaning, when I'm cooking, when I'm just doing laundry, making the bed, even when I go out and go shopping, taking a walk, anything, I'm listening to an audiobook. It's just so much more time efficient if you're trying to like get in more books. And it's not just
the number.
Yeah, it's not just the number. It's not just, oh, I just want to read so many books. It's just that there's only so many hours in a day. And if you really want to read more books this year, multitask. Get an audiobook, listen, do your chores.
So I'm fortunate enough to have a day job where I can listen to books while I'm doing tasks. So if there's just like organizing emails or, you know, doing things that doesn't take a lot of thinking, I listen to my books. So the next step is to only read books that you find interesting. Now, we got into reading again through BookTube. But a lot of the times when you watch BookTube, or you're just reading a lot of articles, or you're on Bookstagram, or you're on Book Twitter, you kind of get inspired by other people's readings. And if they're posting all these popular books, you're kind of like, oh my god, I want to read that popular book. But if you get into just only reading books because they're popular or because other people are talking about them, but you're not genuinely interested in them, you're gonna kind of get yourself into a reading slump. And so this is just gonna slow down you reading more books. So only read books that you're interested in.
Going along with that tip, I would say don't be afraid to DNF books if you just can't get into it. If you just don't like it, you're not feeling the vibe, just close it, put it on a shelf, start a new book. Don't be afraid to DNF stuff. I DNF stuff all the time. I have no shame. It's just like some books maybe I read a synopsis and it sounds interesting, but then I just can't vibe with the writing style. I'm just like, this is not for me. I'm just gonna put it aside, because yeah, I do get in reading slumps if I just read a book and then I'm just like, oh, I'm agonizing, and it takes me like 3 to 4 days just to read a 300-page book. No, I feel like that's a waste of time. DNF it, start a new book.
I used to be of the notion that, oh, if you DNF a book, it's like quitting the book, but you're not. First of all, like you said, it's going to lead you to a reading slump because you're going to be like, you're going to get to the point where, oh my God, I don't want to read right now. Don't let yourself get to that point. Just like you said, shelve it for now. You can always come back to a book if you DNF it. So the next two tips kind of go hand in hand. You're probably going to pick one of them. So if you're like a structure person, if you're like a planner, you probably should plan out your TBRs ahead of time. You can do monthly TBRs, seasonal TBRs. You could do weekly TBRs if you read multiple books a week. And sometimes by setting this goal, you know, keeps you on track. And you're like, okay, it's Monday. I have a goal of reading 2 books this week. You can do the math. So if you're that type of analytical planner, definitely set your TBRs ahead of time.
And then when you set it ahead of time, soon as you finish this book, you can move right along to the next one because you already have it lined up. But if you're a mood reader like us, don't stress yourself out with planning ahead a TBR because you might get yourself in a reading slump, and it's like totally the opposite, but it's true. Sometimes I set like a monthly or even a weekly TBR, and then once I read one book, I'm like, that was a serious book. I don't want to read a serious book. I want something fun and lighthearted. But if I already set my TBR, that could be kind of a challenge. So you really have to know yourself, know your reading style. If you're just getting into it, it's just going to be some trial and error, but trust me, you'll figure it out.
And the next tip is to prioritize reading. It seems very obvious, but just like if you said your goal this year was to lose some weight, well, you're going to have to schedule
working out
into your day.
Every single day.
And so schedule, now you don't have to read every single day, it depends on your schedule. If you're a busy mom, of course you probably can't read every day, but on the weekends or just how it fits into your schedule. Like me, I fit reading into walking to work because I have a 30-minute walk. And if that was the only time that I could read, well, I can listen to a book for 30 minutes on the way to work and listen to it on the way home for 30 more minutes. And I'm getting like a few chapters in. So just weave it into your schedule however it fits and make sure it's a priority. So if there's some other like habits, like if you're just like always on Instagram, well, take that out. Like you have to be really conscious of your own habits and say, okay, instead of doing that, like if you wake up, right, start your day off by reading a few chapters instead of scrolling on Twitter and Instagram. And then once you develop this habit, it'll be so much easier. Us, we work out every day, and it's not like something that we have to go, oh my God, I have to work out, because we already made it a habit. We prioritized it at one point in our lives, and now it's a complete habit. And this is the same thing it'll do for your reading. And so our final tip is actually what got us into reading again is BookTube. And this can run the gamut of BookTube, Bookstagram, Book Twitter, whatever is your thing. Staying abreast on new releases or popular books or books that are affecting people, or if you're a mood reader, so the good thrillers if it's October, or if it's January and there's good snowy books, whatever. Just staying abreast on what people are reading, it just gets you inspired. It gets you like, oh, I'm jealous, like I want to read another book. So just like keeping that momentum up. So you just finished a book and you're on BookTube and you're like, oh, she just finished that book that's similar to the book that I read, and I'm kind of in the mood for this type of thing, so I'm gonna read this next too. So it just keeps you in that headspace of reading, and then your flow just isn't interrupted.
So those are all of our tips. Those are all things that we do to read more books. Like I said, we average probably like a few books. How much books have you ever read in a week?
I think only 3.
Yeah, so 1 to 3 books a week, which is totally doable. If that's your goal, it's totally doable. Listen to some audiobooks, plan ahead. If you know you're a mood reader, don't plan ahead. It's just, you're gonna learn as you go. But we just want to say, it's not all about the numbers. Don't get so competitive. Don't get even competitive with yourself. If you're watching BookTube, don't say, oh my gosh, she read 50 books this month. Like, you don't have to compete with other people. Trust me, just reading, I don't care if it's 1 book a month, is better than reading nothing.
Exactly. I heard this stat that the last book that most people have read in their lives is in high school. So if you're an adult and you're reading books, 1 book a week, well, first of all, that's 50 books a year. That's a lot. So much literature that you're taking in, especially if you're weaving in nonfiction, you're learning things. And I think you I think you learn a lot in fiction too. So don't put pressure on yourself, but we understand if you set a goal, these tips are just to help you reach your goal.
That's it, guys. Those are all of our tips. So if you like this video, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. We post new videos twice a week.
Bye, guys.